Hello everyone, this is Courtney Williams. I'm here as a good friend of mine, Mr. Kevin Shannon, and today's date is July 1st of 2022, and we are going to be talking about a very special person today, Mr. Curt Flood, who I really didn't even know about until about 5 days ago, thanks to this man. So he's going to give us some good information about him today. He's a very important person in sports history, and we're here to talk about his legacy and why he still matters today. So, Mr. Shannon, I gotta ask, first of all, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much for being here. And second, so, let's just get into it. Like, who is Curt Flood? Who was Curt Flood? Like, what did he do? What kind of thing would you like us to know about him today?
Curt Flood was a very talented Major League Baseball player who broke into the major leagues in 1958 with the Cincinnati Redlegs. He was traded to the St. Louis Cardinals in 1960, and from the span of 1960 until 1968, he played in 3 World Series and was on the winning team twice, earned 6 Gold Gloves, was multiple years he was on the All-Star team. He played center field. And he was extremely quick, extremely agile, and a defensive master.
Why do you think he was a master?
He was able to accomplish fielding, you would almost call them events that nobody else could do. He would climb the wall to catch balls that would have otherwise been home runs.
Yeah.
So he erased a lot of runs off the board and allowed St. Louis to win a lot of ball games. And let's say from 1960 through 1968, they were in the World Series 3 times.
Oh wow! Right, and I'm sure they had like good competition because Yankees were relevant then, and everybody. So to have 3 World Series in that time span is pretty incredible. Wow.
Very good.
Yeah. So, like, what exactly so he wasn't just a good player; he was a great player. So, like, where did the issue with what he's more known for today come around? Like, did he want to be traded or not traded, or how is that about? What's the story on that?
After the 1969 season, baseball season, in October of 1969, the St. Louis Cardinals attempted to trade Curt Flood to the Philadelphia Phillies.
Oh wow!
Curt Flood decided he did not want to play for the Philadelphia Phillies, and he equated baseball players and the system of ownership by the team owners with slavery. He admitted that the only difference was that a baseball player could quit. But what Curt Flood did was he hired a lawyer and he took this case all the way to the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court. And though he lost, he paved the way for other baseball players to create what's called free agency.
Right.
Where players can pick and choose where they want to play and to negotiate their contracts.
Yeah, so that's good. But he didn't get to see that for himself. But he did. He was able to pave the way for others.
That's correct. He was pretty much banished from baseball at that point. In 1971, the great Ted Williams was a manager of the Washington Senators. And he was the only manager who stepped up and said, I want Curt Flood to play on my team. And so he brought Curt Flood onto these Washington Senators, and the problem was Curt Flood's baseball skills had eroded in that time, and he was not the all-star, not the Gold Glove player that he was in 1968. And at that point, he quit after 13 games into the season. Curt Flood retired.
So do you think, because even though Curt Flood is an amazing player, he did have a personal few demons or two. Do you think the why the road to habit was because of alcohol? Like, was he have an alcoholic problem? Or
Curt Flood had issues with alcohol, according to his teammates, and though it didn't affect his time in the 1960s, it started to catch up with him. By the end of the 1960s, early 1970s, Curt Flood had his alcohol intake had increased to a point where his physical skills and mental skills had eroded. He didn't quit. He continued to work within baseball to try to help other players and to mentor other players. And eventually, he was allowed into the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. And his family could finally feel like he got what he deserved.
Good. That's good. That is really good. That's good that he wasn't, like, he got a little bit of redemption near the end, even though he had that kind of hiccup with the second chance that went wrong. Would you say, because like how I even thought about this initially was I was like, oh well, LeBron James is the Curt Flood of our generation, but what you know about Curt Flood, is that like an insult to Curt Flood, or is that a fair like idea? Because you know with LeBron, when he traded his talents to South Beach and went with the Heat, he kind of opened up like a Pandora's box of like other basketball players being able to go all willy-nilly on their contracts, like Kyrie Irving, for example, like 1 minute in Boston, 1 minute he's at the Nets. You never know where he's going. But do you feel like it's fair to say, even though LeBron James didn't go through like the racism that Curt Flood went through, do you think it's like a fair apples to oranges comparison to consider, or do you think that's kind of an insult to Curt Flood?
It's not an insult to Curt Flood. I would say LBJ has done a great honor just through his social activism, and as a player and as a father and a husband, he's set a standard, a high standard for human beings in general.
Right.
But to say that he was on the same level with creating something within the NBA, no. What you would be referring to was less than 6 months after Curt Flood had taken his case to the Supreme Court, 13 NBA players stood up and said, we're done with the ownership. We want to be free agents.
Right.
And we will stop the game if necessary. We will go on strike. And those 13 players, black guys, white guys, veterans, rookies, they paved the way for the NBA to stand on the shoulders of giants like Curt Flood and step up and create the chance for NBA players to pick and choose the teams they wanted to play for and be able to negotiate their contracts.
Right. That's awesome. You said it perfectly. So tell me a little bit about this book. Did you get it from the library or?
Yes. This a book that tells the story of Curt Flood, the good, the bad. This is a man who obviously went through a lot of painful, demeaning racism early in his career in the minor leagues, traveling through the South, in Florida and Georgia. He was forced to eat in different restaurants than his white teammates. He was forced to sleep in different motels than his roommates. And he was a man who didn't suffer fools well.
Right.
And he wanted to try to make a difference in the world, and I believe he did.
You also brought this baseball helmet. It's from the St. Louis Cardinals, which is who Curt Flood played for.
This is a hat that Curt Flood would have worn. This is the St. Louis Cardinals logo and their color. a replica of what the Cardinals would have worn in the 1960s.
Yeah, and you were also telling us before we filmed about like the difference between like how they're kind of like more protected today with the helmet versus then, because like today they have like the flaps on the side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the helmets they wear today are much stronger, much more protective, much added protection for the players' faces and heads.
Yeah. So well, this has been a really fun interview. I've learned a lot, and this is just really good. I'm so happy that our viewers get to watch this, learn about Curt Flood, and just a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't know about until I met you. And like you can find videos about Curt Flood on YouTube, and if you want to reach Mr. Shannon, you can find him at Facebook. And hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless you and keep you. Thank you so much.
God bless.